Now it's 11 o'clock, so I would like to start our session about enhancing local resilience through water culture and innovation nexus. My name is Yumiko Asayama, Chief Manager of Japan Water Forum and also the coordinator of the Asia Pacific Water Forum. Asia Pacific Water Forum is a regional coordinator of Asia Pacific of Stockholm World Water Forum, World Water Week 2023. Under the MOU with Shiwi, we are organizing 5 sessions at the Asia Pacific Water Focus. Today's session is focused on the local resilience through water culture and innovation nexus. As you know, Asian and Pacific country has a rich of history and culture that's also reflected in the way of water resource management. And yes, hence, all cultural norms and tradition can impact the utilization and management of water resources. It is thus very important to undertake a broader and deeper exploration of the future interplay between culture and water. Water, culture, innovation nexus present how people manage their water resources, how they can adapt to the environment in which they live, and how we can make use of innovation to improve greater efficiency, protection, and sustainability in water environment. While we are rich of history about water management, we are also facing a lot of issues to tackle of the disaster risk management. Particularly Asia Pacific region, half of the deaths and catastrophe is not located in the Asia Pacific, and the economic damage is also very huge. But if we can make use of traditional way of water resource management with the local wisdom and culture, there is a way to reduce the loss of economic and also loss of local livelihoods. So yes. Then, so issue is how we can integrate these aspects for future innovation, including the way for operating early warning system and also tangible and intangible water resource management. So today's session will share the evidence-based practice and intellectual development that will help shape resilient framework and discuss how to best utilize the well of wisdom in our region and deliver the recommendation for action to decision makers in the region for culturally innovative water resource management. So this session also aims to reflect the outcome into the World Water Forum. Particularly, we try to address regional issue for of Asia Pacific regional process in the 10th Water Forum. And yes, today we are supposed to welcome Minister Baski from Public Works and Housing of Republic of Indonesia, but sometimes a little bit he will be delayed, so we will conduct a little bit of flexible way as long as the minister comes. So now I would like to invite Dr. Shabazz Khan. He is UNESCO Multi-Sectoral Regional Office for East Asia to deliver his presentation. Thank you, Shabazz.
Thank you very much, Yomiko-san. So can you please put the presentation?
Yes.
Right. Thank you very much. A very important session. And I will be highlighting the tangible and intangible heritage which is linked with water and how it can link with integrated water resources management. And it's a very important contribution from Asia. And I'm very happy to see our Director of UNESCO Intergovernmental Hydrological Program is here. So I will be making reference to our UNESCO programs, especially IHP as well. This is an excellent picture which shows in India over more than 4,000 years, how different people have lived together. These are vertical wells. As a groundwater hydrologist, I'm very pleased to see this development. This is, by the way, one of UNESCO's World Heritage Sites along Saraswati River. There are 3,000 such wells. So you can see here culture, values, innovation, resilience linking with climate change, water supply. So very importantly, culture is providing us those values, the innovation, and how we are moving forward in our lives. Also very importantly, if you see the scapes of the oceans and rivers joining together, water is very important in life sustaining, in our mental health, in our spiritual values, in our emotional balance and happiness. These are some of the examples, including in Nordic countries. And one of the examples is from Shalimar Gardens in Pakistan. I originally come from Pakistan, and I happen to be also Australian. Australia has a lot to do with water, culture, and indigenous knowledge. So these gardens from the Mughal times show an excellent way of enjoying water and landscape. But also if you see examples in Nordic countries, examples from Africa, from all over the world. So water has played a very important role in defining our culture, and culture has played a very important role in how we manage water. So World Heritage Sites, we have celebrated 50 years of World Heritage Convention last year. This year, we are celebrating 20 years of Intangible Heritage Convention. So this is another very important area about culture, the coastal areas and where our cities are and the way we link with them. We have another very important program, intergovernmental oceanographic, what we call the Commission, IOC. And there are 50 World Heritage Sites which are representing the link with the ocean and with fresh water. Also, intangible heritage, the practices, the rituals, the way we link. So the first picture I showed you is not just the access to water, but also it links with the religion and how people have lived with water. So they're very important intangible heritage. For example, in China, the Dragon Boat Festival is very, very important and part of making sure the rivers are clean and the management of rivers. But also if you look into other parts, like the water judges system in Peru, the way many of the things have been done, for example, in water and health in Algeria and others. So very simply, water with tangible in terms of the structures we have and intangible, the practices we have, like in integrated water resources management, we say structural measures and non-structural measures. So we need to carefully link those structural and non-structural together. Water and cultural diversity are very, very important. UNESCO Intergovernmental Hydrological Program has long played a very important role in water and history. There are many publications on that. But also, very importantly, recently, to link with the way of life, to link with the Universal Declaration on Cultural Diversity, the way to bring environmental sustainability and culture together. These are important dimensions. So in environmental economics, we say about how you bring the value and the benefits. So I would say here in water, culture, and innovation, what are the cultural benefits and values, and how do we continue to define our environmental spaces, our cultural practices, our cultural beliefs, our cultural goods. Cities are being reorganized, are being redesigned to create new amenities. And culture is playing a very important role. UNESCO has historic urban landscapes, a very important part of our work. So what we are doing is bring science, technology, culture, and management for redefining our urban landscapes. Global Water Partnership, UNESCO, IHP, has been working together and on our own on what we call integrated water resources management guidelines. So we have a spiral approach in which innovation defines every level of the next level of innovation and how we continue to develop ourselves. Culture is a defining part of how do we manage our lives with irrigation, how we work with the cities, how we take whole of the river basin approaches, how people have lived along with the groundwater resources and whatnot. So coming back to IHP, which is a very important program now in its 9th phase, key is international cooperation, science and policy interface, and very importantly, link with the culture and capacity building. So there are a number of publications in this regard which we can draw. Now, APWF has taken a very important step following the Asia Pacific Water Summit to link water and culture. This recent publication by Carola, and I would say is a very important one, which links many of the aspects, especially about tourism and about culture. We welcome our Excellency, Pa Basuki. So nice to see you, Pa, again. Urban water management, linking with culture, is a very important part. We need to continue to define those. And also water quality and culture. The example I showed you from India, if the quality of water is not good, how people will be able to use that? The landscapes in Bali, as Pa Basuki just comes, the World Heritage Sites, about the rice terraces of Tri-Kita, very important coexistence with the nature and the people, is a very important example of water, culture, and rice growing. And those practices we need to take into account. So lastly, let me also highlight sustainability and sustainable development goals is critical, SDG number 6. But how do we bring interdisciplinary approaches? Here are a number of examples from Malaysia, Langat River, where Putrajaya lakes are, Cambodia, where Angkor Wat is, Philippines, where the rice terraces, like similar to Indonesia, are. There are also examples of the UNESCO geoparks, Langkawi Island, very beautiful, and then the Davao City in Philippines. These are well documented water and culture and heritage, and how science and technology plays an important role in bringing the less level of sustainability. So I invite you to link with our programs and with the APWF. So as challenges and threats, I don't need to highlight them. We know all of them, the floods, the droughts, the climate change, the fires, the wars which we have. I think this is the time we also bring the soft part, the culture part, and celebrate what is best about life. We are looking forward to the next World Water Forum in Bali, which is a very important place because we have the World Heritage Sites there. Very important Bali heritage. Also, we have the global geopark there. So we must go and visit those wonderful places, the rice terraces in Bali. Lastly, some very important and quick recommendations. We need to integrate different types of knowledges. Indigenous knowledge from the heritage, knowledge from water management, and we need to have right kind of legislation to be able to protect and also to implement, and then to continue to develop innovative practices, very importantly, which can link with IWRM, the spiral approach. The work we have done with the Japanese government and the IHP and the guidelines which are there, the GWP work, you will hear more, and how now we bring the innovation and culture together, and how we promote education at all levels. Education is an important part of SDGs. How to bring water, environment, and culture together. In Asia, I'm sure you will agree that culture is the way for the life, and culture is a very important part of our lives in training and educating ourselves. So with that, I request that we continue to leverage what we know best, and we bring the wonderful countries such as Indonesia with the leadership of Pa Jokowi, and our minister is here, Basuki, is a wonderful engineer. So Indonesia is a great example of heritage and culture and tourism linking with water management and the most amazing heritage sites and intangible heritage, including many, many interesting, wonderful instruments which link music and water together, or the dances which link our celebration of water. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much for making very, very productive presentation and the basis for today's session. Now, I would like to cordially invite His Excellency Dr. Il Baski Hadimudjono, Minister of Public Works and Housing, Republic of Indonesia. Yes, actually, no, we, Asia Pacific Water Forum, try to do our best for coordinating Asia Pacific regional process of the 10th Water Forum. And we are very, very looking forward to working together with the Indonesian government. So, Minister Baski, yes, please.
Thank you very much, Secretary General of Japan Water Forum and Director Agriculture, Food, Nature and Rural Development ASEAN Development Bank, Mr. Tom Panella, my friends, Mr. Samas from UNESCO, honorable speakers and distinguished participants. I'm pleased and honored to deliver a speech to the prominent participants of the Stockholm World Water Week 2023 at the Asia Pacific Caucus sessions. As we all do understand that the 2030 Agenda has resolved to heal the world and make it a safe place by freeing it from the fear of poverty and scarcity of water, and also to move toward sustainable and resilient pathway without leaving no one behind. Coming to the middle way toward these goals, the water sector has agreed at the 4th Asia Pacific Water Summit to take action to achieve the transformation to a quality society that is resilient, sustainable, and inclusive. However, the achievement of the international water-related goals, including SDG 2023 agenda, is currently at risk. It is time for us to evaluate our current approaches and to improve our strategy in managing current situation to include new challenges in water resources management. In this framework of improvement, enhancing local resiliency through water culture innovation, nexus is becoming a very, very important. The local community has a big potential and the right to participate and be actively engaged in environmental protection and water resources management. In terms of water resources management, local culture can be interpreted as various forms of knowledge, either values, norms, or special rules that have been implemented and preserved by the community in certain areas to wisely use of water and to protect the sustainability of the water resources. These values can be embodied as advice and prohibition of overutilization of water resources. These great values originated from great deals agreed upon among community members. Of course, there are rooms for improvement to cope with current conditions and challenges in terms of growth population, demography, global changes, and climate change. Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, 2/3 of the global deaths and victims of water-related disaster occur annually in Asia and the Pacific. The region bears half of the estimated global economic brunt from catastrophes. Such losses could be prevented and reduced significantly when the local indigenous knowledge, historical and cultural heritage, and culture deeply rooted in local communities can be better understood and enhanced with new knowledge and technologies in understanding disruption on water cycles phenomena, forecasting and prediction of coming events, and current development of infrastructure technology to deploy in dealing with water cluster management to include water-related disasters. In my understanding, these issues require cross-sectoral cooperation, and the way forward can only be found through discussion and problem solving based on scientific evidence and through interdisciplinary decision-making processes that transcend national, regional, and cultural boundaries. This effort will exert far-reaching positive effects on food, energy, urban development, and many other areas, help communities transform into a quality-oriented society, and contribute to achieving regional and world peace. Accordingly, we need to understand better the nexus of water culture innovation for countries and communities in the region, particularly the role of culture in our present and future water resource management and hydrologic solution. We should reconsider our roots and futures since harmony with nature, culturally enabled, resilient, supported by knowledge and technology, and shared prosperity will lead our lives and livelihood for a better future. Finally, I would like to challenge all of us to develop a roadmap that addresses the nexus of water culture innovation for countries and communities in the region. I would like also to take this opportunity, as Sam's UNESCO said, to remind you that the 10 World Water Forum 2024 in Bali will be held in less than 1 year, that in 18 to 24 May 2024, and the government of Indonesia is in a full swing to make this event in Bali a historical movement. Just explained by him that in Bali there's a Suba. It's really a Hindu system water management. Okay? It's based on the Hindus' religion that there is a Trihita Karana, the close relation between people, environment, and God. By that belief that Balinese really manage water in terms of irrigation in an equity and in the sustainable for the future. So you will see there in Bali when you come to the 10 World Water Forum. As a co-organizer of the forum with the World Water Council, we will do my utmost to raise the profile of water and disaster in the next forum. As the important milestone toward May 2024, we will also conduct the second stakeholders consultation meeting in 12 to 13 October in Bali. This meeting aims to have the updated exchanges of detailed political, thematic, and regional issues, and to have in-depth discussion with process working groups how to plan forum with final deliverables, including follow-up action after the forum. We look forward to your participation in the 10 World Water Forum processes. I thank you very much.
So, Minister Baski, thank you so much for giving us very, very warm opening speech. It is very, very helpful as you kindly emphasize the importance of developing quality society which satisfies all of sustainability, resilience, and inclusive, and the also challenge and opportunity to do so, and how that also assists the need for better understanding about water culture and innovation, including the case about Indonesia. And we try to do our best to make use of this discussion for the more useful and practical and impactful discussion towards the 10th Water Forum. So now we would like to back to the speaker's presentation. From now on, we will have 2 on-site speakers and 3 online speakers. Now, I'd like to invite Mr. Geoff Wilson, Senior Water Resource Specialist of Agriculture, Food, Nature, and Rural Development Sector Office, Sector Group of Asian Development Bank. So, Geoff, thank you so much for coordinating flexible manner.
Just bear with me for a second while I queue up my presentation. Thank you. Minister Basuki, fellow guests, pleasure to be here today. My name is Jeff Wilson, and I'm a Senior Water Resources Specialist with the Asian Development Bank. At the Asian Development Bank, we have for some time been promoting community-based disaster risk reduction, as we believe community-based elements provide a better fit for the needs of the people facing disasters. Community-based disaster risk reduction relies on the active participation and engagement of the local communities in identifying, assessing, and addressing the risks associated with disasters, and in determining the most suitable response in their local context. Communities know their situation best and have direct knowledge of the local context. Community-based DRR recognizes this, that the local communities are the first responders during disasters, and they possess invaluable local knowledge and expertise and communication networks. Community-based disaster risk reduction involves empowering communities to take ownership of their own safety and resilience by integrating their knowledge, culture, capacities, and resources into disaster risk reduction strategies. By involving local communities in the decision-making processes and fostering their active participation, community-based DRR aims to strengthen communities' resilience, reduce vulnerabilities, and enhance disaster preparedness and response capabilities. As a subset of community-based disaster risk reduction, ADB also promotes community-based flood forecasting and early warning systems, which involve local communities in the process of monitoring floods, in flood awareness and preparation, and in early warning dissemination. Asia and the Pacific is one of the most vulnerable to natural hazards. Since 1970, accounting for 57% of fatalities and 88% of people affected as a result. This vulnerability is compounded by climate change, with growing impacts on local economies, communities, and the environment, as well as sustained pressures on water security and access. Climate and disaster risk reduction interventions should recognize that the poor, the women, people with disabilities are the most vulnerable groups and bear the brunt of disasters. There is a need to support and commit to meaningful engagement and participation of communities and vulnerable groups facing natural water-related disasters like floods and droughts. So better and more sustainable outcomes are achieved by engaging and involving community members, especially including the vulnerable groups such as women, children, elderly, and people with disabilities in all stages of disaster risk reduction activities. And by recognizing and utilizing the traditional knowledge, the traditional skills, resources, and their communication networks present within the local communities. Community-based flood forecasting and early warning systems empower local communities to become active participants in reducing the impacts of flooding. This involves tapping into indigenous practices, local coping mechanisms, and traditional early warning systems which have proven to be effective in the face of previous disasters. Project preparation must include facilitating collaboration and coordination among different stakeholders, including community members, local authorities, non-governmental organizations, and relevant government agencies. And because communities are so varied, risk reduction cannot be a one-size-fits-all solution, as in the case with the top-down approaches. So collaborative top-down and bottom-up approaches ensures the pooling of resources, expertise, and efforts towards effective disaster risk reduction. By combining local knowledge, effective communication, tailored response planning, capability building, and sustainable practices, these systems enhance community resilience, protect lives and livelihoods, and foster a sense of ownership and solidarity in the face of flood hazards. Community-based systems take advantage of pre-existing and effective communication channels and social capital networks that reach all community members and are more likely to reach those in remote or marginalized areas. By involving local stakeholders, including residents, community leaders, and relevant organizations in the planning process, these systems address the specific vulnerabilities, resulting in more effective and efficient emergency response during floods. Utilizing a combination of methods such as text messages, sirens, community meetings, local radio broadcasts, and local word of mouth, either physically or by mobile phone, these systems ensure that residents receive the timely and accessible warnings about potential flooding events. Community-based systems decentralize local decision-making, and by doing so, they allow local communities to actively participate in the management of their own flood risks. This involvement ensures that decisions regarding flood forecasting, early warning dissemination, and response strategies align with the specific needs and priorities of the community, fostering a more effective and responsive approach. Community-based flood forecasting encourages communities to develop their own response plans tailored to their own unique needs and circumstances. This approach empowers individuals to take appropriate actions where necessary. While floods threaten the physical, psychological, social, and economic well-being of both women and men, flood forecasting and early warning systems need to consider the diverse and social complex dimensions of vulnerability to floods. Conducting awareness campaigns, training, and capacity building programs to community members enhance the community's understanding of flood risks, monitoring techniques, preparedness measures, and response strategies, which helps to build a culture of safety within the community and ensures that individuals are prepared and able to make well-informed decisions during emergencies. This empowers individuals to contribute actively to the monitoring and early warning efforts, fostering a sense of ownership and resilience within the community and leads towards sustainable practices. Also, integrating disaster risk reduction into broader development plans and policies at the community level includes promoting environmentally sustainable practices, land use planning, and infrastructure development that considers disaster risks and ensures long-term resilience. Community-based flood forecasting systems prioritize sustainable solutions that promote long-term resilience. By involving the community in these initiatives, the systems create a sense of ownership and shared responsibility and encourage sustainable and local, yet scalable practices that target the poor and those most vulnerable to flooding. However, there are multiple challenges that hamper effective adaptation and disaster risk reduction at both national and local level, mainly stemming from legacy issues with existing silos and the lack of a consistent approach at the institutional and policy levels that then filter down and influence practice at the local level. There is a need to improve the weak vertical coordination of various administrative levels of government. To scale up, local action and community-based adaptation needs to be supported and enabled by the right policies, institutions, capacity, and finance. ADB has financed a number of investments which organise local communities and strengthen linkages between communities and local government. Our interventions involve all levels: household, community, and local government. This demonstrates that large-scale development programs can have linkages at the local level with an explicit focus on the poor and the vulnerable through social protection, agriculture, and microfinance. ADB has undertaken numerous community-based disaster risk reduction programs and projects, some of which I've outlined here. And finally, ADB also managed numerous funds and facilities for community-based adaptation and disaster risk reduction, including the Community Resilience Financing Partnership Facility, the CRFPF, the Greater Mekong Subregion's Climate Change for Environmental Sustainability Program, the CCESP, and the Urban Climate Change Resilience Trust Fund, the UCCRTF. So many thanks. I'd like to invite people to attend the World Water Forum in Bali, Indonesia, next year. I will be there, and many of Asian Development Bank will be supported. So hope to see you there. Thank you very much.
So Jeff, thank you so much for introducing the ADB's project and also concept of this community-based disaster risk management. And it is very, very important, supported by right policy, capacity, and finance. But how to mobilize finance is also very, very important discussion for this topic. So now we would like to discuss this matter later. Now I would like to invite Dr. Colin Benjamin, Solomon Island National University. He will introduce the Solomon Island case. Yes, so yes, Colin, floor is for yours. And yes, actually try to minimize all your presentation time. Keep time. Thank you.
Okay. Sorry. Thank you. Excuse me. Sorry, I'm not a doctor. I'm still far away to reach that level yet. So, yeah. Okay. So that's my name, Colin Benjamin. Oh, sorry.
Actually, we need. Yes, that's come. Thank you.
Yeah, so I'm from the Solomon Islands, a very small country in the Pacific Islands. We are closer to Australia, and Australia has been always supporting us with all our developments in the Solomon Islands. So I'm working in the Solomon Island National University. I teach there for a little while, and also I'm doing research with Griffith University and International Water Center. So this is Solomon Islands. Most of you hardly see it in the map, but it's in the Pacific. We have about 600,000 population. It's very small. And then 80% of our population lives in the rural areas. 35 to 40% of this population, they access drinking water, and the rest not. And 58% of the rural population practice open defecation. So that's a big picture of our WASH situation. We are really struggling with WASH in the Solomon Islands. Government has been trying its best. NGOs, they're trying their best to improve water supply system management in the communities, but we are still struggling. So there are lots of types of water systems installed by governments and NGOs in the country, from gravity-fed water system to borehole pumps, rainwater tanks. But when it comes to the management part by rural communities, that is where the problem lies. And it wasn't with this time when we have this climate change risk is increasing in the world. So we try to help our communities in the Solomon Islands. So we formed this partner with Plan International and International Water Center and Griffith University with our other colleague NGO in the country, Live and Learn. So we developed this approach. It's called CVSIP, Community-Based Water Security Improvement Planning. So this approach, it has lots of several steps, but one of the activity inside this CVSIP, it's very special. Yeah, so when we talk about climate change, most times we think that it's very costly to address the risk of climate change, but we prove it in the Solomon Islands. It's not that expensive. Yeah. So this approach is designed to build on strengths of culture and traditional knowledge system. So we see how this culture and traditional knowledge system we use in this approach really help our rural communities in the Solomon Islands. So, yeah, one of the problems in the country is that we have very limited data for climate change. Yeah. So, if that is the case, then the best way is we go back to the traditional knowledge water system. Sorry, traditional knowledge system. So, we design this approach and we integrate this activity inside that the participants or the community members can meet with the old people in the community, where they can ask how before, in the past, they manage their water sources. And then it becomes the discussions, they share, the young people, the women, they meet with the old people and they share. There's a transmission of knowledge from past to the young generation. Yes, so they pick up on what happened before, what are the strengths before, and how it relates to the water system before. And there's a good correlation. Before, when they depend much on the traditional knowledge system, they had a very good, most improved water supply system compared to the current situation they are facing now. It's really, it's not good. So this is what the example they come with, like they list down all these traditional knowledge and practices, experiences in the past, and then they list down what was before with their water situation, and there is a high correlation there. There is a high correlation. Example, before they preserve the trees along the rivers, they don't allow community members to make gardens alongside the rivers. You have to ask the chief. You have to ask somebody before you go. Young people, they respect. They have bylaws to keep them. There's consequence, there's penalty if you don't align with the bylaws. So these are things that they started to pick up. They pick up on And they started to have this in mind that we don't have to learn from outside people. We have something here in our community we can pick up on and integrate into our action plan. So with that also, there is another practice, a traditional practice that they used to do. In our communities in Solomon, we have zones. We have some of the communities, bigger communities, they have 4 zones. Smaller communities, they have 2 to 3 zones, like that. And working in zone level is very effective in managing water supplies. If you use the whole community, it will be a problem. There is no cooperation there. But if you work through zone level, it's very effective. Yeah, so this is one of the traditional practice that we're trying to highlight and put it inside the action plan. And it really works, yeah, it really works. So by looking back in the past, when they look at the traditional knowledge system, the practices, experiences before, and they believe that it really has a good correlation with a good water situation before, they started to pick up those things and they put it in the action plan, and it helps them to predict how they're going to address the future risk of climate change. So they had an action plan. This is one example of the action plan. Now inside this action plan, they picked all, not all, but most of the traditional knowledge system of practices or experiences before, and they put it in their action plan now. So they look back, they pick things from before, and they start to using it because they believe that if they use that, it's gonna help them to address the future risk of climate change. So we don't have to go and bring them something new to them. We just tell them to aware that there is something in you that you can use to help you. It's not that expensive. If you're trying to bring something new to them, it's gonna be very expensive for them. Most of the things that we bring to our communities, it's not contextualized. Yeah. So we just go and open their minds. You've got something in you. You can use them back. And traditional knowledge system is very important. Their culture, we have to respect them. And most of the approaches we bring to the communities, it also affect their cultures. So we are like creating new problems. We have to be careful. Yeah? We have to also respect their cultures because in our research we found that the traditional knowledge system and culture is really helpful in managing the water system. So the communities in Solomon Islands, not most, on the communities we work with, they have action plans, and most of their activities are from the traditional knowledge system, the past experiences. It's not expensive. They don't have to pay it because it's part of their life. So, yes, it's very effective. Yes, it's very true. It's working in the Solomon Islands. We don't spend lots of money for this one. Yes, so addressing climate change risk, it doesn't have to be expensive. Yeah, when you talk about traditional knowledge culture, that's part of life. It doesn't have to be expensive. Yeah, when we started to use these activities in our community, it built bridges between old people and young people. Because there's a concept about generational change. Yeah, sometimes new generations coming up, they do something else, other ones come, they do something else. But if we put in traditional knowledge system as one activity to build bridges, we can make communities connected, members in the communities connected. And to manage vast systems, you need a strong community that really connected. Yeah, when you have that community that's really connected, sustainably, resilient, they can manage the water systems now and in the future. Thank you, everyone, for listening.
Colin, thank you so much for introducing Solomon Island case. Very, very important to know or inform everybody about the case of Pacific Island countries. And thank you so much for your key message. Next, from now, we will have an online speaker. Firstly, we would like to invite Dr. Ryuichi Shinjo, Professor, Research Institute for Human and Nature, and University of the Ryukyu. So, Dr. Shinjo. Dr. Shinjo, can you hear us? We cannot hear your voice. So,
I'm speaking.
Okay. So,
Okay.
Dr. Shinjo, could you please start your presentation? Thank you. But
Hi.
we can.
Thank you. Thank you for introducing me. I'm Ryuichi Shinjo from Research Institute for Humanity and Nature, RIN, Kyoto, Japan. And also I'm belonging to University of Ryukyus, Okinawa, Japan. Today, in relation to my RIN linkage project, I would like to introduce the status of water resources in the Ryukyu Islands and a case study of our efforts regarding healthy water circulation. The Ryukyu Island arc is located at the southernmost part of the Japan. It forms 1,200 kilometers long island chain from Japan to Taiwan. 2 years ago, July 2021, 4 islands in the Ryukyu archipelago became the 5th World Natural Heritage Site in Japan. Its outstanding universal value is biodiversity. This is an important area for biodiversity conservation with many international rare endemic species. This unique biological evolution reflects the process of formation of the island. The Ryukyu Islands are also known for the formation of beautiful coral reef system. We benefit from coral reef ecosystems as some of the services and functions are listed up here. Under such condition of the Okinawa Island, we received many tourists every year. So this chart shows the number of tourists and tourist income. The recent trend is that the number of foreign tourists dramatically is increasing. All these situations indicate that the water demand is growing. Agriculture in Okinawa has been referred to as waterless agriculture. Therefore, it is necessary to improve the water resources and irrigation facilities for fields in order to develop a diverse agriculture by securing stable water supply to improve productivity and quality of agricultural product, and to stabilize agricultural management by reducing labor. To overcome these issues, unique subsurface or underground dams were constructed in several islands. This slide shows what is the subsurface dam. Compared with a normal dam that store surface water, the subsurface dam has walls that do not allow water to pass through underground and to block groundwater flow. It is facility that stores groundwater into the small and many voids in the porous Ryukyu limestone. In the southern part of Okinawa Island, there are 2 subsurface dams, Komesu and Giza dams. After the subsurface dam construction, agriculture has become more active in the field planted by a land improvement project. However, now we are facing the groundwater pollution problem. This chart shows the temporal variation of nitrate nitrogen concentration of groundwater at the subsurface dam area. Nitrate to nitrogen concentration is increasing after the completion of dam construction. The 10 ppm is the drinking water quality standard in Japan. The pollution sources may be agriculture and the livestock industry derivation, including overuse of chemical fertilizer and manure and illegal dumping of livestock waste materials. So now we are working on how we keep water quality at more safety level. The linkage project is engaged in a variety of activities to improve water quality. Today, I will introduce 3 initiatives. We believe it is important to share scientific information with various stakeholders for the action of water quality control. The first one is the effective use of visualization tools with scientific data presentation. The second one is the development of board game dealing with the local water cycle. The third one is the promotion of citizen science with dealing with the drilling of coral skeleton. We are using P plus MM as a visualization tool. P plus MM stands for projector plus mapping model. This is a unique tool that enable the projection of various information on a 3-dimensional topographic model. Flow of groundwater are invisible from the surface, so the actual status is difficult to understand. As a result, local people tend to be less aware of environmental issues related to the groundwater. Therefore, we constructed the 3D water flow simulation model, and this was visualized by a projection onto the 3D model by P plus MM. Surface water flow is indicated in blue, and groundwater is in red. So as you can see, most of area is groundwater basin. The P plus MM has been instrumental in communicating and discussing with local people on various situations. For example, at study session with local farmers, it has led to provision of objective and visually comprehensive tools. It has successfully stimulated the exchange of opinions and ideas at a round-table meeting discussing about water resources in the community. The second initiative is board game development. In order to raise community awareness of water resources, we believe that the board game is one of the effective ways to learn about the local water cycle and discuss environmental issues through simulation and role playing. We recently published the paper in Journal Sustainability about the development of and the utilization of board game for integrated resource management of water cycle on coral reef islands. So please have a look at this site for more detailed information. The last one is about the citizen science approach. We organize science club for children and adults in the community. Last year, we worked together to drill massive corals in intertidal zone at Yorom Island. Massive coral grow in striped annual rings. Their chemical composition reflect various environmental information. Coral grow 1 to 2 centimeters per year, so coral having few meters in diameter record environmental information over the past 100 years. As a citizen science, we are now analyzing chemical composition of individual layer in order to define change in terrestrial derived nutrient and heavy metals through the water cycle. So this is summary of my talk. There has been a strong demand for stable water resource to improve waterless agriculture, and subsurface dams are constructed in several Ryukyu islands. We are now facing groundwater pollution from agriculture and the livestock industry. The linkage project is working for sustainable water use and management. That's all. Thank you for your attention.
Presentation to introduce about the Ryukyu Island cases of Japan. And now I would like to invite engineering Janaki Megastina is she is former additional director of Director General of Irrigation Department of Sri Lanka. So Janaki-san, floor is for yours. Can you hear us?
Yes.
Yes, great.
Can you see the presentation?
Yes. But can you conduct screen show? Then we can have a full screen.
Is it okay now?
Yes, okay. Thank you. Great. Thank you.
Okay. Good morning, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Today I am honored to present my topic. Moving on to the content of my presentation, let's explore the historical context that forms the foundation of our discussion. Historical evaluation of water management in Sri Lanka. During the 5th century BC, arrival of the Aryans marked the commencement of transformation period as they settled along the riverbanks, embracing activities such as fishing, hunting, and agriculture to sustain their lives. However, same as the earlier presenters mentioned, that they also face same environmental challenges such as flood, droughts, term dry spells, etc. There are a lot of evidence available in Sri Lanka. I took physical remains and scholarly research such as Parker and Kennedy, and Broyer's scholar research to prove those things. Then demonstrating technical excellence in hydraulic civilization. In this pursuit, technical excellence, significant milestones were achieved. Construction of first dam, then the progression of our hydraulic civilization was marked by several strategic steps: development of sluice system, evolution of uh, canal systems, then trans-basin diversion, demonstrated a visionary approach to managing water across different basins, showcasing a deep understanding of hydrological dynamics. Special features of ancient irrigation infrastructure, technical excellence, and social and environmental consideration. It reflects both technical skills and a deep understanding of societal and environmental dynamics, such as providing irrigation facilities, responsibility of the king. Irrigation infrastructure is considered as common property. Responsibility of maintenance by the beneficiaries. Management was handled by the priest or reputed leader in the village. An environmental point of view, catchment conservation and eco-friendly periphery. Native trees planted along the periphery of reservoir to prevent silting of reservoir and to absorb heavy metals. Water governance structures as revealed by ancient sources with the remarkable windows into the system that guide water management in ancient Sri Lanka. Then let's move to the special features that characterize the ancient irrigation infrastructure in Sri Lanka, focusing on a remarkable village tank cascade system. 457 village tank cascade system available at this moment. The ingenious hydraulic configuration efficiently collect and conserve water in the sequence arrangement of tanks, then precisely distributed downstream to serve diverse needs, fulfilling basic human needs by providing water for domestic use, sustainable agricultural land, and sustaining the delicate balance of flora and fauna that rely on water, soil, air, and vegetation. We encounter various types of tanks in tank cascade system. Main tank anchored by the system and auxiliary tanks provided vital support. Filter tanks ensure water quality, and temple tanks serve spiritual and practical purpose. Ultimately end up with the grand terminal major tank. This is an example of wisdom responding to the challenges posed by a tropical environment. It adapts, manage drought, sudden flash floods, land degradation, groundwater, and ecosystem enrichment, finally with empowering agriculture and livelihood. Challenges and opportunities. Let's move to the present and future water-related disasters. There are challenges and opportunities in integrating approaches and address the present and future water-related disasters. First, I discuss with challenges, complexity of water-related disasters, factors such as hydrology, infrastructure, climate and human behavior, multi-sectoral coordination for water management, disaster response, and urban planning and agriculture, data and information, updated data for effective decision making, then climate change uncertainty, anticipating future water-related disasters due to uncertainties associated with climate change impacts. Then I move to the opportunities. Integrated approach both natural and human systems for comprehensive disaster management. Technology, community engagement, involvement of involving local communities in disaster management, leveraging and their knowledge and enhancing resilience, innovative policies that consider long-term sustainability, disaster resilience, and adaptive strategies. Then this site focuses on exploring the influence of tangible and intangible water culture on science, technology, governance, and decision making in addressing water resources management and disaster risk management in Sri Lanka. I would like to highlight tangible water culture. Historical water infrastructure influenced the development of modern engineering practice. Community management water systems from past serve as a model for participatory and decentralized governance, contribute to decision making in sustainable water resources management. Then I move to the intangible water culture. Traditional water related knowledge inspire innovative water technologies. Then cultural norms and practices shape community involvement and collective decision making. Cultural values in influencing political policies and priority, equitable water distribution and disaster preparedness. Next, I move to my last slide. Harnessing the well of wisdom, harmony with nature and culturally enable resilience in water management. I would like to highlight 2 points. Balancing innovations and traditions, building trust, generation, and bridges. With that, I want to highlight my last point. Wisdom offers a valuable opportunity to create harmony with nature, enhance resilience, and enrich integrated water resources management and water-related disaster management through the fusion of cultural insights and innovative approach. This is my message, and I would like to conclude my presentation with modern development in Sri Lanka. Thank you very much.
Dr. Janakis, thank you so much for your presentation and summarizing about all tangible and intangible, and your message about the way of harnessing water wisdom using the case of Sri Lanka. And now we would like to invite our last speaker, Dr. Vadim Sokolov from Uzbekistan. So Vadim-san, floor is for yours. Thank you.
Thank you. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
We can hear you online.
Yes, and can you see my presentation?
Yes.
Online, yes, but I think the floor cannot hear you.
What is the problem?
We
Let's
can
see.
hear you.
But only the one connected online. Let me tell.
I need help.
What is the
Yeah, we could hear you, Miko-san.
We can hear you.
But only the one connected online. Let me tell.
I need help.
Yeah, we could
Yes,
hear
we
you,
can hear
Miko-san.
you.
We
Vadim-san,
can hear you.
we can
But
also see
only
your
the
slide
one
from
connected
here.
online. Let me tell.
what is the problem? Sorry.
Yes, yes. Vadim-san, you can start your presentation.
Okay. Good.
We can also see your slide here.
Good afternoon, my dear friends. What is the problem? I just would like to share.
Start your presentation.
I just.
We can also see your slide here.
So I would like to share some philosophical thoughts about water governance. And from this point of view, I would stress that water problem should be solved not just by the smart technologies, but more importantly, wisely. And wisdom and water governance infinitely more important than knowledge. From this point of view, I would like to remind about the new philosophy of Lebanese scientist Nassim Taleb about anti-fragile world. And the question is whether it's possible to make water governance anti-fragile. And the answer could be found from the Nassim Taleb that the system in which we don't put our own skin is fragile. The system in which we put our skin interest is unbreakable. But if we will put our soul, it will be more anti-fragile. Skin is fragile. The system in which we put our and we should create a proper regulations in water. Which will contain the
Please, someone online is having their speakers on and we get an echo. Could you please kill your microphone?
And you should create a proper regulations in water, which will contain.
Please, someone online is having their speakers on. We get an echo. Could you please kill your microphone?
My microphone.
Please, someone online is having their speakers on. We get an echo. Could you please kill your microphone?
I'm very sorry, some technical problems. And again, if you will look to the what was happened with RLC, because the humanity was thinking that nature is unlimited and we can take as much as possible for our better livelihoods and economic activities. And humanity remember about ecology only when the nature takes revenge for its ignorance. And if you will look to the what in the last century, Soviet government decided that why we let water from rivers flowing to Aral Sea just evaporated from sea instead of use this water for better livelihoods. And in the result today, what we have instead of Aral Sea, we have only few remaining water bodies and a huge salted desert around this. And from this point of view, I suggest that we need to create a special climate of trust if in related to water governance. And we need to change our behavior, which requested at least two things: more competent understanding of problems and completely new culture of interrelations around water based on moral principles. And from this point of view, all decision makers should be clearly aware that water today is not a weapon, political weapon, but it is subject for water diplomacy. And with regard to water, there should be no enemies, but only opponents and dialogue to find consensus. And it's clear that we should create a proper mechanism of equity, which should be understood as a proper number of indicators which determine structure of this equity, which change it in time and space. And if we will do that, we will manage water better, not only for livelihoods, but also for ecosystems. And by this, I would like to finish. And if anybody of you will visit our region, Aral Sea, in Uzbekistan, you should also to come to famous museum in Nuku City, because the art makes us better. Thank you.
Yes, Vadim-san, thank you so much for presenting Uzbekistan and Central Asia's case. I'm sorry for a little bit technical issue in here. And, but we will be back to you through the panel discussion. So now, from now, we would like to move on to the panel discussion. So time is very, very limited. And from now, we would like to have an interactive discussion with online speaker and also on-site speakers and also audience. So now I would like to invite Dr. Ai Sugiura, UNESCO Multi-Sectoral Regional Office for East Asia. She is kindly helping us to conduct online moderation with online speaker. So Ai-san, can you hear us?
Yes, Yumiko-san, thank you. We
good.
just can hear you right now. It was muted up to now. So yeah, thank you very much for all our dear speakers to have given us insight on this how to enhance then resilience through this nexus of water culture and innovation. And so Professor Shabazz took us through like setting the scenes on integration of different knowledge systems and so on, and different institutional framework for transdisciplinary approach and leveraging on education and leveraging as well on organization like ours and on UNESCO sites. And Jeff gave us an overview, an example on community-based DRR, to raise the resilience of the most vulnerable. And he took us through policy to capacity building and up to financing these activities. And then Colin took us to the Solomon Island with this great example of community-based water security planning, and with in particular in highlighting the cultural aspect of transgenerational integration of wisdom within capacity building. Then I speak from Sri Lanka. We had beautiful examples of historical water, tangible, intangible cultural heritage, and then even tips on how then we could harness all this water wisdom to then be living in harmony with nature. And then last speaker gave us as well an integration of this water culture innovation nexus into a new water governance for Central Asia on balancing then with the balance of equity. So now we would like to ask a few questions. So we are running out of time, but I would like first to ask Professor Shabazz. You talked to us, you took us through setting the scenes of all this session. But then if you could tell us a little bit more on how we can integrate then local, tangible, and intercultural dimension into global science innovation and technological solutions. So then to tackle these water-related disasters. So Professor, if you can take the floor.
Okay, I will be very quick because we have less than 10 minutes and giving time to everyone. This is really our challenge, how we bring traditional and local knowledge and give due respect, like in case of islands, very, very important, but also the example I gave you from India, for more than 4,500 years ago, or the river civilizations like Yellow River, Indus River, the Amazon, have we learned and brought that knowledge forward? For that, there are very good baseline already. The integrated water resources management, the participatory approaches our colleague from ADB has ably demonstrated. My suggestion is that we should take the next step now. APWF with the Asia Pacific Water Summit, this has been a key theme. Let's build now the next generation of the guidelines which address the issue of the islands, they address the issue of the cities, address the issues linked with the different challenges we have, especially climate change and whatnot, and bring what we have learned from our experience of interdisciplinary, bring culture, bring people from tourism, bring people from engineering, like we have excellent engineers, all countries have, and then we try to learn. The example of Bali Subak system is an excellent example of how we continue to innovate our irrigation systems, but give respect to the gods, respect to the environment, respect to each other. So there's so much to now take to the next level, and I'm really looking forward to the leadership of APWF and UNESCO IHP and Global Water Partnership. From this forum, we come together and take the next steps with the ADB as well and publish some guidelines for the practitioners. So that's my very quick answer, but we must cooperate and bring this culture of cooperation and innovation for more culture and innovation, both tangible and intangible, to come into our thinking. Thank you very much.
Yeah. Thank you, Shabazz. Thank you so much for your responding question. So in order to enhance, or pathway forward for making use of water wisdom into the future development. So how we can mobilizing finance in order to attract investor or financial organization? What of sort of breakthrough we need to integrate water wisdom innovation for the moment? So now I would like to ask this kind of question to Geoff, ADB. Thank you.
Thanks, Yumiko. The first thing I think you need to realize is that financing organizations like ADB and the World Bank we respond to the demand from our clients, and our clients are typically the governments. So the governments will come to us, bringing us some ideas for financing. Now, it's up to the government to decide what their priorities are. And there are many sectors that need money, that need financing. And within the water sector, there are many subsectors that require financing. So the governments themselves, and we can assist them in this process, they need to identify what their priorities are. And the financing itself is not an issue. The issue really is that the governments will need to come to an organization like us, and we need to prepare the project for them. When you talk about disaster risk reduction projects, the issue with disaster risk reduction is that the return on your investment is not money in your pocket. The return on your investment is reduced damages. So a lot of stakeholders, they don't see the direct benefit. The benefit is in the reduced damages, and every year you've got reduced damages. And so, you know, with all these conflicting demands on your money, you've got to decide whether you're prepared to spend money on reduced damages. But there are, and then ADB will look at your return on your investment, your cost-benefit analysis, your economic internal rate of return. And so your return on investment has to be sustainable for ADB to support it. Now, there are some easy wins that we should all be looking at. One of those easy wins in terms of disaster risk management is in land use planning. And many communities, governments, local communities, they have land use planning, but they don't enforce it. So the first thing is that we need to have land use planning initiatives, and we need to enforce them. The second easiest win, in my estimation, is in flood forecasting and early warning systems. We need to learn to live with disasters. We don't necessarily need to spend lots of money building large flood conveyance systems. So the first thing to look at would be to look at investing in flood forecasting and early warning systems, as I believe this is one of the best returns on your investment. But just to summarize, the financing is there. Financing is not the issue. I think the issue more is that governments need to prioritize where they want to invest. I'll stop there. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. And finally, we think importance is how to nourish facilitator who can connect global science and also local science and local wisdom, and also how facilitator who can also connect financing organization or any donor agency to connect well for locally tailored water resource management and way of disaster risk management. So now we would like to ask Colin and also online speaker about the way, what sort of assistance you will need to enhance to secure the facilitator who can connect global and local. So maybe from Colin, can I ask?
Thank you. Okay. Yeah. So for assistance-wise, yeah, in a country, Solomon Islands, like we have the action plan already for the communities, but that doesn't mean that they are success now. They really need help. Yeah. So one of the problem in our country is that the follow-up visit from the government and the NGO to continuously visit the communities. There's a big gap there. I think for funding, we have received lots of funding from JICA, World Bank, even UN. They put in money into the national government or provincial government. I think, but the channel and the intention need to be really considered and need to be changed, because most of this funding goes for the hardware water system installation, and they less fund or forget about the software part to help communities to manage and to improve their behavior so that they can able to look after their water supply system. So this is where we come in a project. We're trying to help, we're trying to work with the government, and we try to say the message to the funders that you really need to also not only base much more on hardware water system, but you really need to divert funds also so that we have lots of approaches, but we need funding for these approaches that will really assist the communities to have this behavior, to have this ownership, to have this motivation, inspiration. We all have these approaches, yeah. But to support it is the gap there, and the provincial government and national government, they don't have the capacity because you finance them. But the channel of the finance is the problem too. Yeah, it's more on hardware system. Like, so why not we change the course and focus more on the software part of the community? I think that's the main need that we look at. So they have the action plan right now, yeah. But they are ready. They initial impacts they're doing now. They started to preserve the water catchment area. They protect the trees along the river, and they start to come up with the bylaws. There's consequences if you do this to the water system. But that's not the end of it. They really need help from donors, support in terms of funding, and they really need help from the provincial government and the national government for follow-up visits. I think there will be a good collaboration if we do that. Thank you.
Thank you. So now I would like to ask same question to Janaki-san. Janaki-san, can you hear us?
Yes.
Okay. So in order to make use of water wisdom and the best practice of Sri Lanka for future water resource management and also future disaster risk management. So what sort of assistance you will need it to enhance capacity building for making a facilitator in Sri Lanka who can connect global science and also local science?
Actually, present situation in Sri Lanka is not good. I think you all are aware about the financial crisis at the moment. Local funds for the disaster risk reduction and the adaptation solutions are limited. Even we plan a lot of mitigation options with previous studies. But the main reason behind the implementation is limited funds and government willingness to take loans for recovery measures. That is one problem in Sri Lanka. In addition to that, World Bank, ADB, they are supporting us to develop some mitigation options and the development of SOPs and improve the adaptation capacities and improve the resilience capacities of Sri Lankan communities to face future disasters. This is the current situation in Sri Lanka. Thank you.
Thank you. And how about Badim-san? So how to make use of local wisdom of Central Asia for future integrated water resource management in RRC?
Again, why I did my presentation about ethics and new philosophy, because yes, we receive big money from ADB, from World Bank. We prepared very nice national plan of adaptation. On the paper, everything is very nice, but real implementation of those principles not perfectly done, because you see on my background what is the remaining from the RLC. And the last few years, yes, in national plan of adaptation, we identified that water bodies in the RLC zone should receive a certain water, but last 6 years were very dry. And government decided that rice fields, wheat fields, grass as a forage for cattle is more important than ecosystems. And a few years, less and less water we receive for, and Aral zone still is degraded. So we should change our behavior again, because yes, we have money, we have a good, on the paper, very good master plans, but implementation is not properly done. So I am very sorry for this very, maybe not optimistic words. Sorry.
Okay. Thank you very much. So, Ai-san, is there any question from the online chat box? Ai-san, you are muted. Ai-san,
Sorry,
we cannot hear you.
I was still muted, sorry. Yes, so we have one question here about rural water access and sustainable supply. So how do we, in this forum, look at that aspect? So yes, looking, where does the forum look at rural water access and sustainable supply? I don't know if you could, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you. So please appoint which speaker will be best for asking this question.
Maybe another way. Yes, maybe the rural water and so on. So I don't know if Professor Shinjo, you want to, because you were talking about agricultural water as well, if maybe you could give us some insight on that.
I can say anything about this question, but we are rich in water at the moment. So, but we have suffered the water pollution. So my topic usually I am focused on how to prevent the agriculture in the livestock industry, how to reduce the environmental contamination. So it's not a proper answer to this question.
Oh, okay. Yes, but maybe then on how the because you showed us examples of how you use citizen science then to mobilize as well everyone into tackling all these environmental water issues and integrated water management in terms of water quality. Then yes, so how do you see this then could be transposed to other countries within our region? So the Japanese case into other places. Would you have any idea on how we could use then your good work and examples?
When we discuss with local people, we need some strong scientific evidence to negotiate with local people. So our team always to make visualize our scientific data, how to make a more easily understandable way to discuss with local people. This I think is very important to share the scientific result, and this is give local people to start to think about the future water resources.
Thank you very much. Yes, evidence-based science communication.
Yeah.
So thank you very much for that. So Yumiko-san, I give you back the floor.
Yes. So now I would like to invite Dr. Mr. Basuki for feedback.
Yes, relating to the question about the rural water supply. In Indonesia, we have two types of water supply system. First, for the municipality, we have a regional water supply system. It serves people with a pipe water supply. But in the rural, we have a community-based water supply system. Okay? Now Indonesia have about 80% of the people can have access for the safe water. Out of that, only 30% is from the pipe water system. The rest is by the community-based water system. Okay? Community-based water system means the water supply system is built by this community and then operated by the community itself, operated and maintained. So it is very effective to serve the people with a safe water supply. Thank you.
Finally, we would like to conclude our session with, inviting, UNESCO Professor Sabas to, deliver your final remarks through of this session. Thank you.
We are very thankful to our dear minister, the leadership of Indonesia we have seen, and for the developing countries. It's a very large nation, 260 million people. Now 278 with the most recent census. So that's really a great example to learn about how many islands you have, Prime Minister. 16,000 islands. So providing water, providing education, providing services, that's a very big challenge. From APWF, we are very grateful for Excellency Minister to take time to come and visit, give us excellent ideas about water, culture, and innovation. Indonesia has done it, and tangible and intangible, both tangible heritage with wonderful systems like Subak, the wonderful heritage as we have in Yogyakarta, for example, where we have World Heritage sites and so many visitors go, and also wonderful music and amazing kind of dances like in Aceh, the Saman dance, and so many good examples. And one great example is the batik, which needs a lot of innovation. We have a project done from UNESCO on batik, and how do we avoid the pollution, and how we continue with the innovation. So here is the batik, which is UNESCO's intangible cultural heritage. So we have today got tangible and intangible, very clearly identified, very good way for us to move forward sustainability science, bring programs of UNESCO, Global Water Partnership, under leadership of Asia Pacific Water Forum, linking with ADB, and continue to work together towards the forum. And we look forward to the leadership of APWF. Thank you very much, dear Yumi.
Thank you so much for joining our session, and also all online speaker. I also thank you for your presentation and feedback to the panel discussion. And we would like to continuously exchange all case, and would like to deliver more key message to our water forum. Thank you so much for joining us.